everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and Merry Christmas! I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I hope it's been nice and relaxing and you're enjoying the good things. And I also hope you're enjoying the show of the week, which this week is whatever you want it to be. Whether it's a musical or your favourite TV show or a film, whatever you want to watch, that's what you need to watch this week to give you some of that Christmas cheer. But seeing as it is the 25th of December, it does mean it's exactly a week until the new year, which means it is time for me to set up my brand new bullet journal for 2021. I can't believe it's the new year already. So if you want something to watch while you digest your roast dinner of choice, take a seat, grab something lovely to drink, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started with a brand new bullet journal and a brand new setup for 2021. It is nearly here. So starting off with writing my name, which I didn't do last year, and then the first page I'm setting up is a grid spacing cheat sheet. This is an idea I got from Amanda Rach Lee, and I believe she got it from another bullet journal account on Instagram, but I can't remember what that account is, but I'll leave her videos where she uses this and sets this up and explains it down below. But basically, this spread is a nightmare to set up, but once you do, it saves you so much time because you, in advance, draw out all of the spacings that you'll need for any future spreads. So divisions for columns, divisions for rows, splitting the page into thirds or quarters or whatever you typically use, so that when you come up to setting up a new spread, and maybe it's a spread where you're doing something slightly different, rather than having to count all of the squares down or across and then do the maths to figure out how you need to divide it and how wide a column has to be or how long a row has to be or whatever, you can just flip to the front to this cheat sheet and it's all there for you already. So that's what I'm setting up now. This is the only time you'll ever see me use a ruler, but I wanted to use a ruler just to make it look neater and tidier. Last year I freehanded it and it looked fine, but I just didn't like, because when you freehand you can never get things exactly straight, and I just think it looks so much neater having dead straight lines. And in the bottom is just out of frame. I've also drawn a box and also the beginnings of a row that I typically use when I'm doing spreads where I want 6 boxes on a page, or when I'm doing my rows for my weekly layouts. And that's just because the height of my pages, the number of grid spaces, doesn't divide into 3 very easily. So yeah, I just thought that would be a useful box to have. And then at the top, I've done the title. This is the only page in English because, like I said, grid spacing layout pages are just very long and time consuming. And by the time I'd finished doing it, I was like, I'm not bothering looking up how to say grid spacing sheet in Spanish. I'm just going to write it in English. The next page I'm doing is a 2021 word/vision board. I don't really believe in the whole, oh, you put it out in the universe and it will magically appear, but I do think that there is value in writing down the things that you want to focus on or the things that you want to have more of in the year. I think getting things out of your head does make things feel a little bit more real and a little bit more possible, and also it's a good place to remind yourself of all of the things that you want to give importance to. So next I'm moving on to my future log, and again this is a longer spread to set up because you've got to do, well, you don't have to, it depends on how you want to do your bullet journal, but I do a section for every single month, and I also do a mini calendar layout for each month, which is the longest bit, is writing out all of the numbers over and over and over again. But once it's done, and I do think it's really useful having the mini calendar there so you can see what dates fall on what day of the week and things like that. Just makes it a bit easier to plan ahead when you know how the month looks. Like I said, which dates are on which day and things like that. I didn't do it whilst I was going through the setup, but I did go back afterwards. You'll see it in the flip through. I did also add drop shadows to all of these boxes and to some of the other layouts that I did later on, just because I thought it made the boxes pop from the page a bit more. It made it look a bit more polished and more put together. This December for me has been such a roller coaster. At the time I'm recording this, because I pre-recorded all of these, which is the great thing about doing a new bullet journal, is you can set things up way in advance because you're not going into that bullet journal yet. But yeah, when I'm recording, the last 48 hours, everything has changed in terms of my Christmas plans. So it seems a bit weird thinking about planning and setting up where, you know, if the whole of 2020 wasn't proof enough that sometimes planning just doesn't happen, this December for me has been that as well. I think it's a really difficult time at the moment to really know what to do when it comes to planning for things. Everything is changing so much, and in a way where it's kind of hard to know what the right thing to do is, because the advice is always changing, and you know, you get used to one thing being the status quo, at least for the bit, and then all of a sudden everything is different. And yeah, it's a really tough time at the moment still. I think lots of people have, you know, forgotten. Maybe it's because they're finding it not as stressful as I am. Maybe it's just my temperament, but you know, it's easy to think, oh, this has been going on for so long, we should be over it, but actually it's not really. So I hope you guys are all doing okay and you're enjoying your Christmas wherever you are, whether you're with family, whether you're not. I hope you're having a nice time and you're taking some time to enjoy the moment, if Christmas is an enjoyable time for you, whether you celebrate it or not, or if it's just a time where you get a day off. I don't know. So yeah. Speaking of changes, I'm gonna have to make some changes to my channel next year as well. I don't know at the time of recording this if I will, but I am thinking about maybe doing a mini video kind of explaining it. But essentially, I'm starting a new job in the new year, and it's like a proper job, like a 9-to-5, because your girl needs to pay rent. But because of that, I'm going to have a lot less time on my hands. So that does mean I'm going to have to make some changes to my content, the kind of content that I make. I still am going to keep it theatre based, but it just means that, you know, I've got to think about the kind of videos I make and whether I can make them in the time frame. So it might be a case of, you know, not being able to do lots of videos about things that are time sensitive, for example, because if I've already pre-recorded things for that month, I can't fit it in and get all the editing done, things like that. So I think I will do a mini video kind of going into that into more detail, but I do want to see if I can carry on making YouTube videos. I do really enjoy it as a hobby. I love making videos for you guys, and this year, you know, I've had a little increase in subscribers, so hello if you're one of those people. And I've had some really cool and really interesting conversations in the comments on some of my videos, so I would really love to continue that if I can. But yeah, I think it's just going to mean being more efficient with my time. So that's what these spreads are about, going back to what's actually happening. So these are just planners for YouTube and also for my blog. And these spreads aren't going to be things I'll come back throughout the year. These are things that I want to use at the beginning of the year, just to brain dump all my grey over things that are ideas that I've had, and kind of see roughly where they'd best fit throughout the year and throughout the month. The next page I'm doing is a goals page. And this year I'm going to be doing goals for each quarter rather than for the whole year. The reason for that is because I saw a video by Lindy Burtis. I think that's how you pronounce her surname, but she's on language YouTube. She's a polyglot, and she was talking about what she'd learnt this year about goal setting because of all of the things that ruined her plans for learning 12 languages in 2020. And one of the things she said was she was probably next year going to think of her goals in 3-month intervals. So every 3 months she'll have a set of goals to do, and then the next 3 months she'll review them and make new goals. And I just thought that was a really good idea. I think it's so easy to have all of these plans at the beginning of the year, and then either because you have the whole year, life stuff or more imminent stuff comes up and you're like, I've got to do this instead, or things change and your priorities change. So I want to implement that as well. So for my goals, I've got a row for each section of my life, and then as columns I've got my long-term goals, just so my every 3-month goals are working towards like what I actually want to do, but then writing goals for each 3 months, and then in March I'll review them and I'll do another goal page for the next 3 months. And then the last page I'm setting up is just a quote page. This is actually a quote on a notebook I bought in Spain when me and Josh last went in 2018. That notebook is now my creative journal. I'd spent 2 years being like, what do I want to put in this notebook? I don't know. And now I have a use for it. Does anyone else have that, where you have like notebooks and you never know what to put in them because they're like so pretty and you want to use them for something special? But anyway, this quote translates as big things start small. That's not a direct translation, but that's the sentiment of the quote. And I just thought that this was a really important message to have in my bullet journal as well, because it's very easy to look at the big finished picture and forget that everything starts somewhere. So this is my final flip through for my first spreads of 2021. I really like how they look. I like the minimalist style, and I think they're going to be really useful in thinking about my goals and planning for the rest of 2021. Let's get to it. So that was my bullet journal setup for 2021, my first ever beginning of the year bullet journal video, so that's a milestone for me. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective. Have a lovely rest of your Christmas day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!